We're talking about giving Valentine's Day gifts today, and it just so happens
Sexy
that
give Valentine's Day gifts.
episode 38 of the Queer Money Podcast kind of aligns with Valentine's Day, and we're coming up on Valentine's Day. And I don't know if it was conscious or unconscious, but I wore a pink shirt today.
Oh, well.
So I don't know
Okay.
what that means. And for some reason, this is the first time that David has given us wine.
Yeah,
For,
we're imbibing.
the Queer Money follow-up. So as you might have guessed, we're covering episode 38 of the Queer Money Podcast, on which we talked with relationship and love specialist Dr. Jennelle about how to protect your family financially. And there was something that really triggered an interest in us with this particular episode. So first, we want to kick it off by asking, what sexy gift are you giving this Valentine's Day?
What's the sexiest gift I don't want to say, what's the best gift that you've ever gotten on Valentine's Day?
You.
Well, no. Let's cut the.
Well, so I think this is an interesting question because as we talked about on this particular episode, and we'll discuss here shortly, about the 5 different love languages, that giving or receiving gifts is only one of 5 love languages. And
Right.
as Dr. Jennelle said, very often receiving gifts falls to 4th or 5th place for most people. But you would Hallmark and our consumer society would have you believe that it's all about giving.
Gimme.
chocolate,
I want
giving
things. I want
wine.
things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know that I have a best gift that I've ever gotten. I know the one the Valentine's Day that sticks out in my mind most of all was when we went to that one restaurant just down the street from our condo. We sat at the bar first and we had a couple of glasses of Zinfandel while we waited for our seat to be available. Remember what that night? It's a restaurant that's I don't think is there anymore, and not our favorite.
Was that the Doors? No,
something like I can't remember. But anyway, I enjoyed that whole night simply because it was an all-encompassing experience. I enjoyed the restaurant was pretty retro. It was kind of like 60s 70s vibe, and so we sat at this low seated bar. We sat there for an hour or so and had a couple glasses of wine before we actually went to a 2-top table, and we had a very nice pre-planned meal.
Yeah,
that to me, Valentine's Day, when I think about it, that's what I remember.
Yeah.
What about you, husband?
I probably would have to say maybe the very first Valentine's Day that we had together. And that was when I think we had been dating for, what was less than 2 months.
Well, yeah, we started dating January 1st.
And you got me this little teddy bear, and
I got you.
But it was I think it was a little different because every time with my ex, it just felt like everything with Valentine's Day was kind of this obligatory, just giving me shit, right? It was actually on this episode with Dr. Jennelle where we kind of jokingly talked about getting the watch, right? And that was from my personal experience. On my 30th birthday, my ex got me a $1,400 watch. He clearly knew nothing about me. I never wear watches. I don't know why he thought that was something that was important to him.
Maybe he thought you need to wear watches because you're late to things.
No. That was something that was very important to him. He had several very, very, very expensive watches. And I think what he wanted is for me to have the things that he liked. And I think that's what's important about this whole discussion around the love languages is more often than not, people give what they truly want because they're not listening or not in tune with what their partner truly wants.
Exactly. So let's dive into this discussion. So before we get started, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, like or subscribe to this YouTube channel, and set notifications on this YouTube channel so you know when we have these sexy discussions, you can join in. So celebrating Valentine's Day, we're doing that in a fun and unique way. You might be kind of surprised what our unsexy Valentine's Day gift idea is for you, but it's very valuable, and you will appreciate listening to this whole episode. But as we started off, Dr. Jennelle shared with us, and I had never heard this before, that there are 5 love languages. And this is, I should have looked it up, but I didn't. This is actually a study that another doctor had done and published a book and has a whole series on. But basically, Dr. Jennelle shared that the 5 love languages are quality time, words of affirmation, physical touch, acts of service, and receiving gifts. And Dr. Jennelle said, we have to understand what it is our partner wants, and as you experienced, what our partner wants isn't always necessarily what we want, or isn't necessarily what society kind of projects on us.
Right.
And we talked about how giving gift or receiving gifts for a lot of people for most people isn't in their top 3.
Right. I think that's the thing, is that we have to understand that giving is more about the receiving than it is actually the giving, right? Are you really giving what it is that the person that you love, or the person that you want to give a gift to is truly wanting to receive, right? There's so many. We're boiling everything down today when it comes to gifts. I think about the holidays just passed and how many billions of dollars was spent on gift cards, because people simply do not want to take the time to get to know the person that they're going to give a gift to. They're obligated to give a gift, so $25, $50, $100, $500 gift card, out it goes, right? And they just don't take the time to get to know the person.
And I think Christmas is a great example, because for Christmas, for those who celebrate it, it's an entire month, and it includes a lot of things. It's the decorations, it's the music, it's the parties, it's also the gift giving. Commercials would have you think that it's all about the gift giving, but I think the reason why Christmas ranks so highly for a lot of people is because it's got all the different variables going on. It's touching all of your senses, and I also think it may be why Thanksgiving more often than not ranks higher as one of the most enjoyed holidays, because it's about the company, it's about the people, it's about the experience, and there isn't necessarily any gift giving involved.
Right. Well, when you look at those 5 love languages, do you want to go through them?
Yeah, I already shared them.
So when you look at those 5 love languages and you look at the holidays, you look at, let's just take, for example, Thanksgiving, you said, because typically there isn't an exchange of gifts, but people really love Thanksgiving because there's quality time with your family. Oftentimes there's physical touch with those that you love, right? The hugging, the kissing, just being around your family.
Being next to them, yeah.
And the other one, it ranks high in acts of service. A lot of people like to use Thanksgiving as their gift giving to those in need, as that kicking off that gift giving season.
Well, but I also I think people the idea is that making food for people is one of the most heartwarming gifts that you can give people, right?
That's
and so
true.
You have either one person,
unless you're a horrible cook,
you're giving death to somebody. Either one person or a couple of people are creating a meal for a whole bunch of other folks.
Yeah.
And so it's not it's a different level of active service. It's not just about giving a gift, but it's giving a meal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's probably why Thanksgiving ranks so high. I would argue Halloween probably touches on a lot of those things, right? There's quality time in creating, picking and creating the costume. There's the act of, there is receiving gifts because you're receiving candy. There are the words of affirmation, right? Somebody likes your costume, or your costume's sexy, and people love that affirmation of what they've created to design for that particular experience. There's to some degree, there's probably a level of physical touching depending upon kind of people you Halloween with.
Yeah. Right. All right, let's get to the reason why you watched this, because you saw that title. What is this unsexy gift that we are going to suggest that you give?
This is our unique and fun but important gift.
Right, exactly.
And it was actually inspired by a quote of David's. He said, "The best gift is the gift of truth and honesty." You're a good
quote generator.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that the way that this came about and why this came about in this particular podcast is we were talking about. We originally kicked off the discussion around divorce, and the situation we were talking about was when traditional families were breaking up because one of the partners had come to the realization that they were in love with and wanted to be with someone of the same sex. And that oftentimes when that happens, when a man leaves a woman for another man, or a woman leaves a man for another woman, there might be this kind of assumption that, oh, we're the same. We're two men, we operate exactly the same. We're two women, we operate exactly the same, right? And so because of that, there may not be some of those initial important discussions around things that maybe you had with in a traditional relationship, those kinds of conversations.
Well, and then there was also sort of the twist that in some cases these relationships didn't, they weren't intentional, right? They kind of, they surprised the participants. And so there was maybe a level of infidelity or maybe not purely sexual, but maybe some sort of an intimacy level of infidelity. And so you kind of had a lot of deep discussions with this particular person, but you didn't cover all the important topics. And there was the assumption that all the important topics, we must be very similar in all those ways if we're so similar in all these other intimate areas.
Yeah. It's interesting because my cousin, a female cousin of mine, was married for over 20 years. And then I think it's probably about 5 years ago now, her husband came out to her. And one of the things that she said that was very difficult was the fact that he was in a sense kind of pursuing a relationship with someone of the same sex. And she said it's hard because on one side she feels the infidelity that he didn't come to her and tell her the truth right away, but at the same time she understands the lack of acceptance and the fear of wanting to tell somebody if you weren't 100% certain, right? And you know, they are still good for, they have 3 sons together who are all, I think the youngest one is now, I think 18. So 18 to 24, they have sons together and they have a family, but they are still woven together because of those kids, and have a great relationship with each other, a familiar relationship with each other because of the children. But I think that she said that there was that kind of fear, or that weird space of, I feel like you're not being honest with me, but I can kind of understand why you wouldn't be because of the situation.
Right. So what is this surprising, unsexy, very important, and helpful gift? It is your credit report. You weren't prepared for that one, were you?
Yeah.
So why your credit report?
It's not necessarily just your credit report. I mean, we're not here saying go print off your credit report, wrap a bow around it, and give it to your partner. But what
we kind of did in the episode.
what it really kind of leads to is the honesty and having a conversation with your partner about your financial situation. Because a lot of people, whether queer or not, in a same-sex relationship or not, have some innate fears. And I think that there's a sense of, a lot of people do hide the truth about their financial situation from their partner. And it is what leads to a lot of financial infidelity in relationships.
Exactly. So the money conversation, as we've talked about on the Queer Money Follow-Up series already a couple times, is a very important conversation to have with your partner in general. It's money tends to be one of the top 3 reasons why couples separate. So talking about money can help alleviate some of that, the need to separate, because you're being open and honest with that person. But then there's that level of intimacy that sort of opens up for people, because there's so much emotion that's tied with money, and we put so much of our self-worth into what our earning is, or how much money we earn, or what our credit score is, or how much debt we have. And so if you're, the idea is that if you're exposing that kind of vulnerable information with somebody, that you're kind of creating a level of intimacy there. So, you're showing a level of honesty, which leads to intimacy, which, as we've discussed before, can oftentimes lead to better sex, because that honesty and that vulnerability, kind of parlays over into sex. And so basically giving your credit report on Valentine's Day is giving good sex on Valentine's Day. And that's why we say go to freecreditreport.com now, get your credit report, and have better sex on Sunday.
Well, and it's the initiating that conversation, right? And that's not an easy conversation to start. And we provide a lot of tools that will help you start that conversation. One of those is your Queer Money takeaway from this episode. Not only do we want you to go print out your credit report because it's good for you to know what your credit situation is or what your financial situation is, but there's some other tools that we provide on our website. So we want to thank you for joining us for this Queer Money follow-up. Your takeaway is not only to go get that credit report, but to go get the 5 building blocks of a happy gay life that we link to in the description below. This is a new tool that John and I have created that will help
Super
you,
excited about it.
Right. Help you, and if you have a partner or partners, to start having the kinds of conversations around the important things that lead to happiness in life.
A 360-degree happiness, not just singular.
Right. There are 5 things that lead to happiness, and there are 5 things that each of us can work on to improve not only our life, but our relationships with our partners. And that is really one of the things that brings us that deep sense of happiness. That teddy bear that John got me all those years ago is not bringing me deep happiness, right? There's an emotional remembrance of that, but the deep happiness that I have is the relationship that I have with John. And that kind of relationship is what can continue to bring happiness over and over and over.
That deserves a kiss. Okay, continue.
All right, so there you go. So that's your follow-up. Go get the 5 building blocks of a happy gay life. You can go to debtfreeguys.com. It's on the homepage. Click on that start button. Yep.
Then let us know in the comments below what sexy gift you're planning on giving your husband or boyfriend for Valentine's Day. And let us know if it's going to be your credit report, because that would be a really awesome takeaway.
Right.
Then join us again tomorrow for episode 39 of the Queer Money follow-up series, when we cover Queer Money podcast episode number 39. We talked to Sarah Lee of, her website just slipped my mind. We talked to Sarah Lee, and we talk about living authentically, which is an area that David and I are have dabbled in before, but we're dabbling much more in now, especially with those 5 building blocks of a happy gay life. Then lastly, as always, please give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel and set notifications on this YouTube channel so you can join us for all the unsexy conversations that we have. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks. Bye.